Next on the agenda, Jason Deitz is going to be here at the FHWA Pavement Preservation Expert Task Group.
Good afternoon, everyone. There's been a little changeover in our headquarters role when it comes to this Pavement Preservation Expert Task Group. We kind of changed 2 players. Now we're going on the third, and unfortunately Antonio just got this position, but unfortunately he's off to Puerto Rico. And so a little background about myself. Jason Deitz, Federal Highway, been with Federal Highway for 25 years, graduated from the University of Nevada, Reno. Just glad I'm able to take part of this Everyday Counts pavement preservation. And mainly I started with the when and where, and then now I'm kind of getting into the how part. Little background, I was asked to talk a little bit about the PPETG, but then while I had a little extra time, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Everyday Counts, so I'll talk a few slides about that. Where are we going with that? So a little background on the Pavement Preservation Expert Task Group. I know Bob Horan talked a little bit about this last year, but for those that weren't around, basically it met in September of 2015 in Washington, D.C. It was originally established in 1997, but over a period of time, people moved on. Real big mentor kind of moved on, Mr. Sorensen. It kind of just fell through the cracks, and it didn't really go forward. So it was reactivated September 2015, and we're moving forward. The group itself is an expert of panel members, industry, well as state agencies, and really to provide technical advice to Federal Highway, and as well as FHWA sponsors this ETG. Here are the members. As you can see here, James Gray is kind of this next meeting that we're going to have in South Carolina, Charlotte, this next month. This will be his kind of last hurrah, and then Antonio will take over. We have a lead person from Nevada, Anita Bush, and as you can see, we have David Lohr, and etc. Richard Turner here in the audience, he participates, as well as John Wilcoxon and John Donahue from Missouri. Those are your Southeast representatives that participate in this group. As well as most things, we have a mission, and we'll advance and improve the state of the practice in working highway pavement preservation by working collaboratively with the federal, state, and local agencies, as well as industry and academia interest. Our vision is preserving our nation's valuable highway infrastructure with the right treatments, the right road at the right time, as we heard a couple times ago. I also have another motto that's often said, good roads cost less, and I think that's another motto that we have. As we started back in 2015, we had some what I refer to as legacy project working groups that we had. We talked about looking at a top 10 list of characteristics. We surveyed agencies, and we wanted to get their feedback on what they felt was important about pavement preservation, and I'll talk further about that. Also, we wanted to create some kind of benefit calculator, how local agencies, as well as maybe states, wanting to provide some kind of input to their management on where their conditions of the roadway is. In addition, Judith talked about this yesterday, we wanted to do something about the research efforts by updating the roadmap, and we looked at performance measures, and last but not least, we looked at distress warrants and intervention levels. And here's a little bit of background about the top 10 list. The purpose was to identify important characteristics that agencies felt were important and essential elements for an effective program. The list was developed from a nationwide survey that Judith put out. A series of articles were identified and published into the Pavement Preservation Journal, and and I think further as we go for these new projects, there'll be additional documents that will be incorporated in as well. As of November of last year, here are some of the new projects that came out of it. We wanted to look at a synthesis of contracting methods, because as we're seeing through some states, Arizona and others, they're using some kind of IDIQ contracts to help with pavement preservation. And for those that are familiar with it in the maintenance arena, for like culverts design and other things, this was a kind of a contracting method that where you have contractors on board ready to go when it comes to these type of treatments. And with that, it can really improve bundling, putting projects together, as well as the quality of some of these preservation treatments. So that's something to think about. And we're in there kind of looking and thinking about that and discussing where we're going to go further. Also, David Lohr from Washington State's kind of leading the push for definitions, because as we're coming in more into pavement preservation treatments, we're looking at the design lives, looking at all those remaining service lives. We didn't really have a very good document that had a lot of those definitions readily available, so we're working on as well. And some of the further efforts that John's doing on the outreach, we're putting publications out there in articles and magazines and et cetera. We're working our efforts on that. In addition, for those that are aware, we have some checklist treatment guides that are out there. There are 11 or 12 of them. We're in the process of updating those, so stay tuned where we go with that. And lastly, the update of the research roadmap, which I think I already said. Some of the wrap up, a little bit about the PPETG. It meets twice a year. We have 2 face-to-face meetings as well as conference calls. They're open to the public. If they want to attend, they're more than welcome to. In the next several years, we're going to be excited due to the large number of states moving to everyday counts. Activities that I've just seen over yesterday and today, it looks like we're on the right track, and I'll go a little further on that in the next part of where agencies are moving when it comes to preservation. And we're looking forward. Again, the PPETG intends to be a valuable resource, work effectively with agency as well as industry to identify some and eliminate some of those barriers to implement of the pavement preservation program. So that's a little bit of background about the PPETG. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Everyday Counts initiative. Here, the first one I'd like to mention is the Everyday Counts Pavement Preservation When and Where. Upon the Everyday Counts, about every 2 years, agencies have ability to choose initiatives, and we usually come out with 11, and agencies have the ability to choose 1 or 2 that they feel they really want to pursue and push for their particular states. And we were very happy to see that pavement preservation when and where, as well as how, was selected in this round of Everyday Counts 4. Currently, we're not sure what is going to happen with Everyday Counts 5. It's coming out here in the next month. We'll know further what innovations are going to be coming out of that. But there is an opportunity, there is a chance that pavement preservation may get rolled up into that and be put into Everyday Counts 5, but we'll wait to see. When we look at the when and where, we really want to focus on the benefits of using whole life of our pavements. You know, have that specific time frequencies that we're coming in there and putting some kind of preservation treatments in, and to project our pavement surfaces as they continue. For those that haven't seen this, we had some national goals. And we, after our summits, you can see in the dark color, light color blue, and those in the grays that are not really participating, you can see those states that were a part of this preservation program. And down, if you look at down the bottom, we had originally, when we started this back as a baseline in January 2017, we had 35 states that said they have some kind of preservation program when and where. Our goal is to be at 45 at the end of this year, and I think we're in a pretty good direction here in our report out in last December. We had showed we had 38 states, so we're in the right direction. I think there's more efforts that are going to be coming out of this, as I'll talk about, but we're in the right direction. And our goal was to ensure that state and local agencies have institutionalized policies governing the selection of pavement preservation projects to support and sustain our pavement's performance. For some of the activities that we've been engaged in, currently this last April we had 3 peer exchanges around the country. The first one was in Denver, Colorado, the second one was in Atlanta, Georgia, and the third was in Connecticut. And as you can see here, we had some very good turnout. We had 22 states that participated, and those shown in red were the states in the southeast region that participated. Along with that peer exchanges, we also looked at what else could we do to provide those agencies that really are looking for further assistance. And we were kind of 3 or 4 months behind in our contracting process, and a lot of these southern states needed some training, especially for local agencies. And as you can see, this next part, we provided some integration pavement management for selecting pavements for preventative maintenance. It was a day-and-a-half workshop that myself and somebody from Ergon participated in, and we ran around the country. We have been to 10 states, and overall we have had over 728 participants that participated in these workshops. We have some upcoming ones that'll probably come up in this fall. But in addition, we're planning on having some webinars this fall or winter, as well as workshops once we collaborate some of our peer exchange notes that we get from that to move forward. What are the innovations that we're trying to take out of this Everyday Counts When and Where? Well, we're hoping to have some kind of selection guides, things that young engineers, pavement management engineers can use to help get started. When we were approached in Washington State, we had a young pavement management engineer come up to us and say, hey, this is the first time I've done this. I have no guidance, no direction, what I need to do, the terminologies that are the most common, best practices. I really wish we had something to go by with that. So we're kind of working on that as well and trying to get the best cases and best practices out there to provide some agencies to move forward. As well as we're also talking about things to help the local agencies when it comes to their pavement management systems. And currently we're in a process of maybe getting an RFP out here. Will help local agencies kind of in break-up periods of, say, if they're beginners at their pavement management systems, these are some of the things that they need to work on, what they need to have, what they should incorporate. If their local agencies are kind of intermediate, this is where they need to go, and this is how they can improve. And then if they're advanced, what further things say they can do to move forwards? And efforts like this in Louisiana as well as Florida were some of the things from the local agencies they really needed. As well as we needed some analysis tools. There are some tools out there that have been used in the past, but we're trying to make it more of a web-based program to help agencies as move forward. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about communication plans, things that we can help state agencies. We're in the process of talking about that. Your asset management, you heard a little bit about that yesterday. We're going to try to provide some examples of what agencies can use if they're struggling, to how they incorporate that into their TAMP. We're going to incorporate that as well. Strategic guidance on their models of some of their preservation programs and et cetera. We'll have some best practices. And lastly, some cost-effective matrices that can be used. And lastly, there's a life cycle planning reference there if you can go to for further information to go on with that. So that covers a little bit of background about the when and where. Next, I want to talk about the how. And the how will really focus on the quality of construction and the material practices for pavement preservation treatments. And as you can see here in the map, show the states that were involved, that had institutional knowledge, those in the dark blue, and those states in the middle that are working on efforts to improve. The goal was to ensure states or local agencies will be using revised treatment specifications, training construction and inspection personnel using new construction materials and or adopting improved pavement preservation construction practices. And as you can see here, when we started off back in January of 2017, I believe we had a number of 35, so we set a goal as 44, and as on December of 2017 on the report, the second report, we're at 37. So we're on the right track, and along with these peer exchanges that we're going to incorporate tomorrow afternoon, as well as some of the other pavement preservation groups that are going to have it upcoming fall and winter, I think that will help along, make it better. On the pavement preservation how, here are some of the major treatments that we're going to cover. There's a gamut of them, but on the flexible pavements, we're going to really focus on microsurfacing, chip seals, slurry seals, and ultra-thin bonding wearing course. For the rigid pavements, we're going to stick with diamond grinding, partial depth repair, full depth repair, and dowel bar retrofit. Some of the activities that came out so far, there was a best practice tech brief that was completed by the Missouri DOT. There's a website that you can go to for further information. It'll cover basically grinding, dowel bar retrofit, partial depth, full depth, useful information, great reference, as well as we're currently on another one for flexible surfaces. For Nevada DOT is kind of taking the lead on this, and we're hoping to have that out here in the near future. One thing I forgot to mention on the rigid surfaces, we're currently working on an additional tech brief on basically, we're working on joints, sealing joints. So that'll be another one that'll be coming up here soon. The peer exchanges, I know it was kind of a late notice for most of you that are attending this workshop here today, but tomorrow afternoon there will be a peer exchange, and it'll be in the Comella Room A from 12:30 to 4:30. Hope you're able to attend that. hope we get a lot of useful information. We're going to talk about specifications, other additional information that'll help gather some of the information that we need to move this to the next level. One other thing, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be updating our pavement preservation checklist, and currently there are 13 of them available. In addition to those, we're going to add more video and some more common inspection tests that maybe weren't incorporated originally, or hopes to get them undone, as well as creating an app or a table on our smartphone for functionality for people to use. In addition, as mentioned by Larry as well as Judith, there are some free pavement preservation web-based training, and a lot of effort through Federal Highway, through ISSA, worked on developing this about 3 or 4 years ago. And again, this is free. People can go to at their own leisure. It talks about chip seals, microsurfacing, slurry seal boxes, and etc. I welcome you to please check it out. Again, it's free. The hardest part is to get registered, but once you're on board, it's great. You like it. We're in the process of finalizing further web-based training on concrete, and we're hoping to get that out sometime this summer, so stay tuned. Last but not least, everybody likes the opportunity for funding. Grants. What are things out there that agencies can really try? And I wanted to speak a little bit about this because currently we only have 2 states that applied for this. And West Virginia was one, as well as Arizona. And here's an opportunity to try some of these preservation treatments, or if it's something to just to improve your pavement management system. There's a site that you can go to fill out, put in an application. You have 180 days left, because at the end of this year, basically every day counts 4, ends. Like I said, we'll probably go on for another 3 or 4 months afterwards with more trainings and some additional things. But here's a great opportunity for putting in a request for some additional funding. For those agencies that have done it before, grant money is not uncommon. Fill it out, and Travis is there for further help or assistance with what needs to be done. But again, it's an opportunity. Furthermore, on the EDC resources, here's a website that you can go to on a report that was just generated. In this report, it talks about states' practices that they've incorporated by using everyday counts for pavement preservation. In there, you'll see Connecticut as one state agency that has moved forward with trying some experimental projects that's worked really well for them, and there's some others. So you get a chance, check that out. Be well worth your time. And then there's my contact information. I'll be around till tomorrow afternoon for the peer exchange, and I know Steve, the next presenter, will talk more about the in-depth of what they're going to cover. So as you can see, Everyday Counts 4 has worked. We're getting closer to our goal, and that's a positive thing, and we'll wait to see where we're going to go on Everyday Counts 5. There may be some additional treatments that we haven't put on our radar screen for Everyday Counts 4 that we may go with 5, but we'll wait to see.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.